Let's take this conversation forward. How exactly are the dynamics within the telecom space really going to pan out? We have with us Jaideep, Ghosh, partner at KPMG, and also joining in from Reliance Securities, Naveen Kulkarni. Gentlemen, morning. Naveen, if I could start the discussion with you. Government sources are saying, and analysts mostly actually, that they're expecting a 15 to 20% hike in tariffs in this round. How do you think this is going to, impact the profitability of Bharti and Vodafone? Could we expect more hikes in the near term after this round?
See, first of all, I believe that the tariff hike in this first round could be higher. I think they will take probably more than a 20% kind of a tariff hike, because this is a window which is there. So they would want to raise tariff as quickly and as higher as possible in this round itself. Thereafter, we'll have to wait and watch what happens to the sustainability of tariffs. So that's first aspect. Second aspect is as far as the question of profitability is concerned. So when we are talking about profitability, we have to also take into cognizance whether the telecom companies will have to pay the AGR dues in the next 2 months, right? If the telecom companies, if they pay the AGR dues in the next 2 months, these companies and the kind of interest cost that will start accruing to these companies, this 20-25% tariff hike is not going to be sufficient to completely offset the incremental cost that the companies are going to face. And in case of Vodafone Idea, it will take much higher, right? So from the overall perspective, I think the tariffs need to go much more than what they are right now. Probably a 50% kind of a tariff hike is where the industry will start making some meaningful numbers. At this point in time, we'll have to wait and watch on what happens. But I think a 25% kind of a 20 to 25% kind of a tariff hike announcement probably tomorrow or day after cannot be ruled out at this point in time.
Okay, something to look forward to. Jaideep, now Jio has already taken a partial hike when it announced a pass-through of 6p IUC for off-net calls. Do you expect Jio's quantum of the hike to be lower then, especially considering it's captured market share after offering lower effective rates?
See, I think Indian mobile tariff is amongst the lowest, if not the lowest in the world. So in that context, we tend to at times overanalyze, maybe a few paise or a few rupees. But even so from that perspective, I think overall my view is that, tariff hike could be in whatever range. I would stay away from hazarding a guess on the percentage. But so yes, I'm aware of the Jio, wanting to pass on the mobile termination charges for off-net calls. But there is again a regulation, there which is getting reviewed. So whether at all there will be any charges for terminating calls, to another operator's network, how long these charges will be. So there are many moving parts, as your journalist was also saying. We need to see. I wouldn't like to hazard a guess, if Jio is going to increase their tariff by the same range, etc., as others are doing. It's a price-sensitive market, so we rather wait and see, what happens.
Where do you see the industry ARPU settling in about 2 years' time, and how high could we see this going if there is discipline among the players?
Okay. So if there is discipline amongst the players, so if I were to look at the ARPU number, if I were to go back to 2014-15 kind of a time frame, right? So Bharti had an ARPU of closer to around 200 rupees, right? It was the market leader. Then the other players would have been at a discount of around 10% odd, right? So my sense is that in a period of around 2 years, the ARPU should go back to a 200 kind of a levels for the industry size to be meaningful. At this point in time, the industry size is not very conducive for a 3-player market to make all the 3 players to make money. When the ARPU will hit a number of around 200 rupees plus, and at that point in time we could be looking at annual revenues exceeding between 2.5 and 3 lakh crores. That's when I think there will be some meaningful returns that the industry could start making. It's still going to be a challenge to reach that number, but I think that's where we'll start seeing some bit of semblance in terms of the profits and the return ratio required for the investment that the industry has already taken.
Jaideep, Indian customer is very price sensitive, but at the same time, we're also seeing customers moving up the value chain. The shift is happening from, first 2G to 4G to 3G and then now 4G. Do you think price elasticity could make it difficult for industry to go for substantially higher increases?
I would think so. And then, as I said, the ARPUs have come down, the EBITDA has come down, etc. over the last several years. That's also because of the competitive intensity, and each operator has its own strategy. We must appreciate that different telecom operators, entered the business at different points of time in different shape and formats. So, somebody is operating for more than 2 decades, somebody for 3 years. So each priority and strategies have been different. So their perspectives are different. So that's why we see what's happened in the last, 3 years. So, yeah, there is a chance. The other point is, I think we are again, maybe, we try to, focus on things which are happening around the AGR and other, Supreme Court rulings. There are several other things beyond the mobile, voice and data services that telcos are doing, and they can do. Those are markets, in broadband, in a corporate enterprise. So one can make, money at better margins from those businesses rather than only relying on enhancing tariff by, whatever percentages. Because even at if the current ARPU, and then ARPU again is not a KPI I tend to at all believe much in, because there are different segments, different packages, and so on and so forth. But let's keep it simple. At 100 rupees or something in that range, even it becomes 180 rupees, 200 rupees. From this business itself, there is this limited chance of making a lot of money. Because one is the AGR spectrum charges, which we're focusing on, but there's a regular investment also for network, for spectrum, and so on and so forth. So I would think, yes, price elasticity is there, but telcos are focusing on other areas also to kind of manage the impact of the difficulties in the mobile businesses.
Sure. Naveen, now the weakest of all is Vodafone Idea. It has a net debt of like $14 billion, 6 times its market cap, 4 times its cash holding. Will a tariff hike and a 2-year spectrum payout moratorium be enough for it to repair its balance sheet? Or is there still a chance of us heading towards a duopoly situation?
See, at this point in time, the tariff hike provides some breather for Vodafone Idea. That's, I think, that's one way to look at it. As such, Vodafone Idea have had integration issues. We believe the kind of synergies and other things which were talked about have not necessarily materialized to the fullest. So it will take some more time for them to get their act together. So there are intrinsic challenges, as well as the external environment has been extremely harsh. So my perspective for Vodafone Idea is this, that at this point in time it provides some bit of a breather. But if they have to make that payment of related to AGR dues, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to raise that money. I am very, very skeptical if any of the banks will start lending them at this point in time. It's probably the government which will have to make some bit of adjustments for Vodafone Idea, the way that they do in terms of the spectrum payments for paying off these dues at this point in time. So that's my perspective. It will take quite a bit of time for Vodafone Idea to actually come back on a strong footing.
Jaideep, the government has said they're not likely to lower 5G spectrum reserve price, and when the industry is still struggling, there is a chance of delay in India's adaptation to 5G. Do you think, how much of a delay do you see in that?
See, 5G, proper rollout and, use case implementation as it is something which at least I was not expecting to happen in the next, even 3 years. So the high spectrum price was there irrespective of high as perceived by the industry. Well, irrespective of the Supreme Court recent, judgment, it was always there. So my guess is, that's one area. See, the government can do a few things, they cannot do a few things. Even if they want to do, there is a Supreme Court judgment, they will not be able to do things. But yes, relook at the spectrum prices could definitely, help the industry. Though at this point of time, I would be, quite cautious in saying if really the industry players are keen to even bid for that kind of spectrum, at that kind of price. So this could get delayed, I would think, further. I don't know when, but anyway, I was not expecting this 5G, rollout properly happening before, 2023, 2024. I think I'll stay with those kind of timelines for now.
There's a relief from the Supreme Court on AGR and, decent hikes as well in prices. Could the industry regain its past glory? I know I'm talking about a utopian world, but
it should, because it's a very it should with at least in the current set of competitive activity, it should in a couple of years probably. So the critical factor is the industry size should grow, because there is a big mismatch between price to value in terms of the offering by the telecom companies. The value offered is much higher for the price that they charge, right? So from that perspective, there is a huge scope for the price to go up from the current levels. So once that happens, and also once the price goes up, then the quality of the product also improves and the customers will see more value with the product, right? So from that perspective, we see that it can gain back its past glory, but of course the part to that will be challenging with because there are multiple factors. There are government related dues which the companies have to pay. There is competitive activity which is still significant, right? So these are the hurdles that the industry has to cross. Probably we are closer to that time frame than we were earlier. I think we could be looking at that scenario probably 1.5 years from now, where the telecom industry can deliver a secular growth which it managed to deliver in the 2004 to 2008-9 kind of a scenario.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us today and taking us through that extensive conversation and all the elements at play currently in telecom.